Hello and welcome, history fans, to History Play-by-Play. Today we're going to look at imperialism as a cause of World War I.
In all alone. Dangle, shot. He scores!
So there are four main reasons why World War I happens: militarism, alliances, imperialism, and nationalism. And imperialism takes the war from being a regional conflict over the assassination of an archduke to a world war. And now we're going to take a look at, well, how did that happen? Now, imperialism, we need to define. It's been happening for decades at this point. It is the next step following mercantilism. So imperialism is defined as the extension of power through colonies. You're using these colonies not to take their resources, though sure, that still happens. That's not their primary purpose. That's mercantilism. That's why the American colonies were founded by Great Britain, as well as many of the other North American colonies. They were looking for resources. Well, now we're looking for power. Because of coal-fired ships, you need places to stop in order to pick up more coal. When you do that, you can have military bases there. Let's put it this way. If America wanted to get involved in something happening in China, it's a whole lot easier to get there from Hawaii or the Philippines than it is to get there from San Francisco. And so you have these colonies so that you can have an extension of power and reach out to these places a whole lot more quickly militarily. Therefore, you exert more control and more influence over these areas, and that's why it's being done. And of course, this takes control of politics in the region, and certainly is not a great thing in any sense of the word. Now, in Britain is known for having the British Empire. In fact, it said the sun never sets on the British Empire, and I believe that's still true. I think it's until there's an eclipse happening sometime in the 2040s where the first time the entire British Empire will not have sunlight on it anywhere. But that's just it. There's part of Great Britain's empire always in daylight, and while they may not control them all directly anymore, a lot of these countries still see Queen Elizabeth II as the kingdom, the Queen of Britain, not as the Queen of Britain, but as their queen as well. Canada considers her, to be their queen. Even though the regional government obviously does all the important day-to-day stuff, they still acknowledge Queen Elizabeth as their sovereign. That's why she's on the money. And many other countries throughout the world do the same thing. At this time, it was a full-fledged empire. It was fully controlled. France had a large empire at this point as well, especially in Northwest Africa. And if you follow the last World Cup, that became a major part of the politics involved. It's certainly a big issue. And of course, in French Indochina, here in Southeast Asia, that would be an issue for the United States decades following all of this with the Vietnam War. We don't always think about it, but Russia had an overland empire. All of the things that are not beige colored there are part of the Russian Empire. It was built up to include Ukraine and Kazakhstan and all of these other regional smaller countries. Russia had a tremendous amount of the continent. Japan had been expanding considerably at this point. It had taken all of Korea. It had taken Formosa, which is modern-day Taiwan. It had been expanding its influence on China. Japan was certainly expanding at this point. Italy had an empire, mostly in North Africa, but also they tried to impose into Ethiopia, which would be bigger in the Second World War, or leading up to it at least. The Ottoman Empire had been massive in the 700s and has been slowly collapsing. We see it mostly in the dark orange there, but you can see Serbia and Bosnia had gained their independence not that long ago. And you get a lot of these other things of losing this independence. Austria-Hungary in Central Europe had combined many ethnic groups by force into the Austro-Hungarian Empire, and that's significant, and that's going to be a major issue as the war goes on. And Germany had colonies in Africa and a number of colonies in the South Pacific, which would all be very interesting to Great Britain following the war. Indeed, Africa itself has been completely carved up by this point. There are two nations in Africa that are independent as of 1914. That's Liberia, which was set up as part of the Liberia Project of former slaves from the United States founding their own government. That's a whole different story. And Ethiopia as an independent kingdom. So the entire world looks like this. Every color is a different nationality, a different nation exerting its influence. And the United States in light blue is certainly be included among that, as we had taken the Hawaiian Islands and we had taken the Philippines and other such places at this point, and not willing to give them up. We were fully imperialist at this point. And so, when you get this war between powers in Europe, you end up getting all of their overseas colonies involved as well. That's why Canada sent so many troops to fight in the war. That's why India was so involved. That's why you have these conflicts from off the coast of Brazil all the way to Japan sending some 14,000 troops. It is truly a world war at this point, because all of the colonies of all of these major players involved all have to fight alongside mother country. And so that is a key point to all of this. Imperialism takes it from a regional conflict to a massive world war. And that's all I got for you. That's the end of the episode. What you just saw is this teacher's interpretation of events. If you use this for a class, let me know how that went in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you can figure out how today's jersey matches the content, let me know in the comments. That's extra credit. I'm John Baranowski, and thanks for watching.